Okay, so here's our lab that we're going to work on. So let's get started here. So open up Eclipse, and in my labs, I'm going to say this is lab 2. We'll give it the main. Okay, so this lab is going to be again similar to the bank account app that we did, but we're going to apply it to a student database, and we're going to, of course, have a class called students. Okay, so this is pretty typical. Here's our main, here's our class from which we'll create the objects. Let's pull this up. So we want a construct that takes social security number and the name in the arguments. Okay, so we're going to have our properties up here. We're going to have string name and string SSN. SSN just have to be all lowercase. Okay, and then our constructor, if we're going to, of course we want these to be private, to use encapsulation. Our constructor then is going to be public student. We're going to take the string name and string SSN as the arguments. Okay? So when we create a new object here, so create a student, right? We are going to call, we're going to say the name, we'll say Janelle, and we're going to pass the social security number of, I think that will do right there, right? So this is 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 3 4. Okay, so this is right. Okay, so we're not gonna. How do you create a new object? We say student, we'll call stu1 equals new student, right? So that is the idea of creating a new object. This new is saying new object from of type student pointing to student. This is going to call a constructor. We're going to pass the name and the social security number, and so now inside here we can actually say this dot name equals name, this dot SSN equals SSN. Again, this once again, this name is referring to the instance variable, which is this right here. This is a local variable. Okay, so we have our string, our name, and our SSN. Okay, so we have this taken care of. Automatically create an email ID based on the name. Okay, so we need a private string email. Okay, and so let's say private set email. Okay, so as soon as we create the new student, we're going to then call set email. Okay, this is private void set email. And what's the email going to be? It's going to be email equals name, then we'll concatenate at SDETuniversity.com. Right? Okay, and then we can say here, sysout, your email is email. Okay, now let's run this here, and all we should see here now is your email and then the name. So we should see Janelle at email.com. Very good. Okay, one further enhancement. Let's just change name. Let's make sure this is lowercase, right? Dot to lowercase. Such now make this be lowercase Janelle. Okay, very good. Okay, so we have set our email. Okay, based on what the user sent. Set a private static ID. Okay, so again, what is this about? We're going to have private static int ID. So what is this? This is something that's going to be unique to the person. So we're going to initialize it to, we'll say, 1000. And every time we create a new student in our database, we're going to say ID plus plus. Okay. So now we're going to set, set account ID. Okay. Actually, so we have our static ID. Okay. Now generate a user ID that is a combination of the static ID, random 4-digit number, and between 1,000 and 9,000, and last 4 of Social Security. Okay. So let's do this here. So let's actually enhance this to include a static ID, right? So lots of times at a university you'd have something like, you know, your name dot so and so, because there's probably more than one Janelle at a given university. So let's also concatenate the let's have this start at, let's have it start at 1000. Yeah, we will also concatenate dot and then concatenate ID. Okay, let's see what this looks like here. We have an error here. Okay, we don't have our set account ID yet. That's fine. There we go. Okay, so very good. So let's just make sure this is all working fine here. Create a couple new students here. And we're going to have this be Thomas and have this be Elizabeth. Okay, and just set some, again, some other random social security numbers here. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. And 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so if we execute this, there we go. Alright, great. Now let's come back. We want to have a static, we want a user ID, so we want to have a private int user ID. That user ID is going to be a combination of the static ID, a random 4-digit number, and the last 4 of the social security. Okay, so let's set, not the account ID, but set the, we need a function set user ID. Okay, so we want private set user ID, private void, okay, and user ID again is going to be a combination of our the social security number, the ID, and then a random 4-digit number. So once again, we'll do integer random equals math.random. Okay, so this is the random number between, in fact, let's just let me make this double so I show you, right? I haven't actually shown you how this works, so we should print this out, rand num. Okay, so now we print the random number, we see actually what that function generates. So it's a decimal between 0 and 1. Okay, so if we want the number between 1000 and 9000, we want to say, actually let's first make sure we're multiplying it by, let's see, that would give 2-digit, 3-digit, 4-digit. Okay, so let's run this. There's our 4-digit number. Okay, alright, very good. Let's make it an integer, kind of enhancing this one at a time. I'm going to cast this as an int. There we go. Now we should have a random 4-digit number. Okay, now if we did this enough, we'll see that, see there we want 9524. Okay, so we want to make sure that we are between 1000 and 9000. How do we do that? Well, what we want to do is we want to first get the range. So the range is going to be the, say, max minus min. Okay, so what's the max? Max, integer max equals 9000. Integer min equals 1000. Okay, so we want a number between 1000 and 9000. So in fact, now I can actually just take this out here, multiply that difference by 10. And close it one more parenthesis. Okay. Now that should give us, actually we don't need to multiply by 10. Let's see here. Okay, so that's a random 4-digit number. Now we need to make sure that it is above the minimum, right? So now we're going to do random num equals random num plus minimum. Random num. There we go. There you go. There's our 4-digit number between 1,000 and 9,000. We see it. It's going to hit it every time. Okay, so now we have our random number. So once again, our user ID is a combination of, so user ID equals, what was our setup here? Static ID, so it is ID concatenate what? The random number plus the social security number dot substring. And in fact, we can just do substring. If we do there's two methods: substring that has a beginning and ending, and one has the beginning itself. So we're going to begin at the 6th place. And let's see, this should be, make sure we are doing, let's see here, user ID should be string, yeah. Okay, I shouldn't need to have this quotes here. Okay, now I might need to have quotes here, because what it would do, I think, is add the ID and number first, and then we concatenate. So let's run this here and then print your account number and then concatenate user ID. In fact, it's not account number, it's user ID. There we go, 1001, and then a random 4-digit number, 7634. And then we actually need to start at position 5. There we go. Let's bring this down here to, let's say, let's start at 0, in fact. Right, so 1, 2, 4-digit number, and there we go. So you can have any combination here, right? This could be starting at 10. You could have a random number between, see, there's a 2-digit random number. You could have something that just takes the last 2 of your social security number. So there's any combination here that we would want to do to generate some ID. So you get the idea here. Okay, that's just kind of get you some practice with working with static and working with some manipulation with variables. Okay, so we have all of these. Now what we want to do is have our methods. Okay, so enroll, paycheck, check balance, and toString show courses. Okay, so we want to do public enroll, public void enroll. Okay, we want to do public void, let's see, what was it? We had pay, so pay tuition. And then what do we have here? We had check balance, public void check balance, and then we had toString and show courses, public show courses, and then public string toString. Okay, all right, let's first do enroll, right? So if someone enrolls, what we want to say here is when they enroll, we want them to say what they're enrolling in. So we're going to say string course. Okay. So we're going to say something like we should have here our public string courses, right? And let's set this to empty quotes, because what we want to do is they can enroll multiple courses, right? So we can say course equals course, and then we will concatenate /n plus course. So we want to say this dot course, right, equals this dot course courses. So basically we're going to add a course every time we enroll. So for example, we'll do here and let me make this bigger. Here we go. So stu1 dot enroll, let's say math 151, and stu1 dot enroll, let's say English 255. Okay, every time they enroll, we should print, for now, we'll print courses. Let's just see how this works. Okay, return null, just so we don't get an error right now. Okay, execute this. There we go, math 151. Okay, very good. Okay, so now we see that it's accumulating our list of courses. Okay, now also what we want to do is every time they enroll, we should have something like the private int cost of course equals, let's say, 800. And this can be, in fact, static final, right? Because this is going to belong to each student. The cost of the course doesn't belong to the student; it belongs to the institution. So this is a final. We could also, we could have an interface with this if we wanted to, but for now, let's just keep on rolling with this. We have cost of course is 800, and so when they enroll, we should say, if we want to have the balance, we should also have a private balance, private int balance, right? So every time they enroll, the balance equals balance plus cost of course, and we should initialize our balance to 0. Okay, so since we have so much going on, what I want to do is, instead of every time we enroll in a course, let's do the toString. Or actually, let's do check balance. So we can say sysout, we'll do balance, and then print the balance. And then we can show the courses. So we can say, we can do print out the courses. Okay, so after we enroll in, let's say, one more course, we'll do history 211. Let's now print our balance, and let's also check our what do we want to show courses. Whoops. And let's put that inside. Let's put the courses first. So there we go. We have 3 courses, and our balance is 2400 because we have 3 courses. Okay, very good. Okay, so here we have enroll, we have check balance. Let's do pay. Okay, so if we have a pay method, here's pay tuition. We of course are going to get, say, an int amount, and then we're going to say balance equals balance minus amount. There we go. So after enrolling in a couple courses, we're going to pay tuition. We're going to pay, let's say, 600 as a down payment. And now we want to do check balance. So run there. There we go. Very good. So if they pay, let's make sure also to say sysout payment, and then say amount. We'll put that right in there. And that should actually come before the calculation. Okay. Alright, so there's our courses. Here's our balance payment. There we go. Okay, so we have our enroll, we have our pay tuition, we have our check balance, show courses, and now of course we need finally our toString. So what's our toString? Our toString would be, we want to say name, and then we will concatenate name, and then end that block, add a /n, we'll say courses, and then we will once again concatenate courses, break off that, add a space here. Okay, after that block, we're going to do balance, which is going to be the balance variable, concatenate, square brace to close off that statement. Okay, let's see, concatenate there. Okay, so there we are. I think we have everything. Let's check the assignments using encapsulation. So we need a couple other variables here as well. But let's run this here. Okay, and then of course now we need to stu1 dot toString. Okay, and let's since we don't, let's actually take off check balance and show courses, right? Yeah. So the courses did not show up in the toString method. Let's see, what are we missing here? Courses. Okay, so if we run this again, are we calling the toString method stu1.toString, which is this? We're returning, oh, again, let's give need to print this. Sysout print. There we go. Now run this. There we go. Name, courses, balance 1800. Okay, so you should obviously get the idea of how to do encapsulation. We've done that before, but again, all this we could do public get email, so return email, right? If someone wanted to do that, we could do, let's see, string email. We can do other properties, what private string phone, private string city, private string state, right? Those are the three other ones. Okay, and we can then use this generator to do getters and setters, and we need state, city, and phone, right? And they're just added those right there. So no need to actually add these because they're, but let me move those down. Those should not be in the variable declaration after the constructor. Right there. Okay, so there's our getters and setters, and that should do it. That's our lab. So this one, again, was similar to the bank account, but we had a couple of different interesting things we did in terms of generating a user ID, in terms of having this pay tuition and enrolling in courses. Maybe instead of having a /n, we just do a concatenation. So it might look something like that. So that might be a little bit better there. But at any rate, we see how we can basically do the same kind of process. And if you get this idea down, then you have a pretty good handle of how to do object-oriented programming.